am Käthy, eli Phoenix, and today, welcome to my presentation about what age is the most dangerous to be a child in anime, and it is very dangerous, a spoiler. What to expect? First, I will be explaining why did I decide to talk about this of all things. Then I will give a brief description of how I did highly scientific research about this and what self-imposed restrictions I put on myself, because I couldn't include all the children in anime, that would be a lot. And then I will give the results, which will be more numbers, followed by analysis for things that are not numbers, but questions that just pop into my mind, like, oh, where are all the parents? Because when your kid gets isekai or, I don't know, recruited to a magical girl band, there are no parents. The parents know nothing. And then I will give a brief small conclusion, what are the main things to take away home with you. And yes, that is me. I will terrorize all the children for fun and your entertainment. And to start off, I congratulate all of you, because the fact that you are here means you survived all the bad things that could happen to a child, and you can give yourself a pat on the back for surviving your childhood, your teenage years, and for being proper, responsible adults. And you probably will survive, except if your hair is like this and you have children. Okay, now to the actual part of the presentation. Why this topic? And to explain this, I will have to explain my tragic anime background, which is I come from a family of anime nerds. Yes, of whom most of us can legally attend Desucon. With my little brother being the newest edition. So this January, yes, as a gift for my brother, because he turned 18 and he could get into Desucon, I gave him a ticket. And when we were at Desucon, we were like, you know what, now that you're 18, you have a pretty good life. Because, you know, if you or me or our dad get isekai'd, it's going to be a nice, slow life where we cook for very dangerous creatures who for some reason love us. We're gonna see a lot of soft bosoms. Everyone is going to love us. All our plans are going to succeed. And if we don't get isekai'd, we go to work, we're gonna find romance, we're gonna have a good time with our co-workers. It's Gucci. But my youngest sibling, she's not so lucky. Because you know what? If she gets isekai'd, it's very painfully, like boom, explosions, boom, truck-on. And she's not gonna be cooking on a campfire. She's gonna be escaping for her life. Or if she doesn't get isekai'd, some random mascot character is gonna come and be like, you need to save the world, join my army. And I mean, she's going to get a frilly dress and everything, but she's going to suffer near fatal injuries every week to fight off terrorists, aliens, or just random psychos. And, you know, if she doesn't get recruited to the magical girl group, then she's probably going to get recruited to a child army, where also she's gonna suffer some major injuries every few months or every month. Or she's gonna end up in a mystery series, where you're either the villain or you're the main character, neither of which is a good end. So how did I do this? I used Google Sheets, Google Docs, and Google Slides, because I'm no longer a university student. I don't get office supplies for free, the office, Microsoft Office, yes. Then I used My Anime List and Anime Planet, because one of them has convenient lists of child characters aged 3 to 12, which was nice. And I used my animalist to determine which of the characters were main characters. And afterwards, there was a lot of intensive Googling, both by me and by my army of recruited people, of whom most are not child labor. The pikkusisko is still a child labor. And because I couldn't include all the children in anime, I was like, haha, age bracket, that's easy. That's from birth to 17, because that's when you're a child legally. And then only main characters, because if we counted all the child characters, a lot. And the fact that I limited it to main characters only, you will see it in the results. So all the entries into my spreadsheets included the series name, the character's name, the age, the studio, and the year of release. And then I made a highly scientific bad things happen rating. And I chose some harmful activities or events that I gave grading scale from 0 to 4. I excluded number 3 because I didn't want it. 0 means nothing happens, they are very happy, well-rounded children. Number 4 means there's no more of the child. And it looked something like this. The example is my favorite boy in one of my favorite series. So, after doing some quick maths, the maximum score would be 16 and the minimum score 0. And what are the bad things? Here you can see the rating I gave them, from fighting to actually the death. And to explain what I mean with these, because these are quite wide categories. With fighting, I mean all kinds of fighting. It can be dangerous epic battles, or 2 little toddlers going like, oh, I hate you, blip, onto the floor with your diaper. And minor injuries are anything you don't need to go to the emergency room for. So if it's something you can slap a band-aid on, it's a minor injury. And those gave only 1 point. 2 points was major injuries. It's something that you're like, I should go to the doctor with this. In other words, if you put a band-aid on it, it's still gonna bleed. You need something much stronger. Kidnapped or imprisoned. It means taken against their will, even if they don't know that they were taken against their will. Because imagine you're a kid and some random guy with a white van comes and is like, I have a puppy in the back. And you're like, oh, puppy. And there is actually a puppy. You go into the van, you have a great time with the puppy, and 2 hours later you're like, something's not right. So it's still kidnapping, even if you have a puppy. Now, forced labor or forced contract, because if you're under the age of 20 to 18, depending on what activity we're talking about, in Japan you can't sign a contract without your parents being there. And it's also not a Victorian era factor. We don't want the children to work from 6 in the morning until like 10 in the evening. Mental abuse is basically anything that results in the need for therapy. So is it school bullying? Is it your parents? Is it your grandparents? It doesn't matter. If you need to go to a therapist, it's probably mental abuse. And death of loved ones or orphaned. So either your parents get offed, your siblings get offed, or your best of friend since childhood gets ran over by a car and you witness it. Those are all equal in my eyes. And lastly, 4 points, death. It means what it says, but it doesn't have to be permanent, because we're talking about anime. And now to the results. In the end, I got 300 different characters from 133 anime series. Some of the characters, a few, were recurring, because in my opinion, Naruto and Naruto Shippuden are 2 different things, because both are very long and they have different flavors. But 300 different characters, just Naruto is twice. 60 different studios or studio collaborations. The youngest characters were 2 years old because apparently a newborn is not a very popular choice for a main character because what do? They poop, they eat, they cry, they sleep, and repeat. The oldest was 17 years old because when you get 18, you are legally adult, you can drink in Finland, I think. Excellent. Average age was 13 and a half, which means perfectly my sibling's age, the youngest sibling, you remember them. The most popular age was 16 because, I mean, we all love our main characters being 16. And to illustrate it with a graph, you can see that anything preschool age was very few and far. Meanwhile, like if we go to high school, there's a lot more of them. And that also skewed my highly scientific calculations because if one 2-year-old child gets beaten by their parents or something like that, it's gonna be heavily implied by the statistics because there's not enough of them. And to make it a pie chart, as you can see, double digits rules the pie chart. Anyone under the age of 10 make up a small portion. So Baby Bill is an exceptional baby. And drum roll please, I'm gonna give out the awards for the Bad Things Happen Junior Edition. The most dangerous age, 3rd place, 11-year-olds. From Higurashi we have Satoko Hojo to take the bronze medal home. 2nd place, 14-year-olds. I did not know that Violet Evergarden was 14. But yes, silver for her, whatever she's gonna do with it. And 1st place, 13-year-olds. And we have Kabane Kusaka from Kimono Chihen taking the gold home. And if you remember, my little sibling, 13. So yes, when I finished the calculations, I was like, you know what? If someone comes to you and says, I have a good deal for you, say no. And here is more statistics, and as you can see, for some reason, the babies are in danger. But this is because one baby was really in danger and the other ones were sleeping. This part is more like good statistics because there's a lot more of the teenagers and pre-teens. And as you can see, when you're in middle school, it's a very dangerous time. If you get to like high school, it gets chiller, even if we don't think so, because the drama is still there. And the most common bad things were minor injuries, because that's something you can get without even fighting. Because if you have had experiences with babies, they're gonna find anything to put into their mouth. Followed by mental abuse and fighting. This reflects real life because if you have been in school, then at least according to Estonian statistics, 1/3 of the school children are gonna experience bullying. I think it's much higher, but yeah, so everyday things, fighting and mental abuse. And now we have a big graph or table. And here are some interesting things. Well, the red pointer is not going to be very nice. Oh, I have a pointer. And here you can see that for some reason, if you are a toddler, you can't really fight much, except if you are baby Bill. Then the easiest solution for writers is to be like, haha, you have no more parents. Meanwhile, if you get older, there's a higher chance that your parents will be still there, just absent. Alive but absent. So, if we go to like middle school, you're gonna fight a lot, you're gonna get a lot of injuries. Because that's the time when all the adults are gonna be like, I'm gonna recruit you. And you're gonna say yes. Because who doesn't want to wield a sword or a magical lipstick? And then you go to high school. The fighting and the minor injuries, they drop a little bit, but you're gonna get bullied more because there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of, oh no, Kun doesn't love me. And then there is the villainous Sama who is like, oh, I'm gonna make your life a hell. But she can't do anything like physical because she's gonna get yeeted out of school. So yes, if you are a older underaged person, you get bullied. If you are in between, you're gonna get violence. And if you are a baby, you won't know it until you're like older, but you won't have any parents. And here is also the reason why 13 is a very dangerous time, because you know, this is death. Half of the kids on my list died. So, the year of pain was before I was born. Yes, it was when you were born, but that's not the reason. You know why 92 was a horrible year? Because, you know, Sailor Moon was released. And apparently, Sailor Moon has a lot of violence contracts made by underage children. I think death. I was told it had death in it. So, 92, a very serious year, followed by 2007, because that's when Bokurano was released. That is also a very bad time for kids. And 88, I think it was because of the Grave of the Fireflies by Ghibli. So Ghibli is not innocent either. And you can see, Ghibli is not innocent. The studio of suffering is Gonzo, because, you know, they made these series. I mean, the bottom one, that's still fun. That's still fun, I think. It's fun. You told me it's fun. At least it has Fumofo. Exactly, but Bokurano, it has only one season and it's a lot of pain. White Fox was known for ReZero and Jormungand, which is why it's horrible. Ajado for Kemono Jihen, best boy but poor children. Now to the analysis, because you know the main question is, where are all the adults? First answer. They are dead. So if you have children, please cut your hair short. Then you will see them grow up and get drafted into the army. So yeah, this doesn't need much explanation because they are dead. Then they are like some of the familiar parents we might have. They're just enjoying life. They have forgotten that like 13 years ago they had a baby. They might have given it to the grandparents. They might have forgotten the child. It might live alone. Who knows? Like with Irumakunda, just the parents are like, oh, we have a child. That means we don't have to go to work anymore or do taxes because child, we can sell it. Then they are serious adults. They have taxes. They have government jobs. The child is part of the 5-year plan. Like with poor little Kara, who is basically the future plan for the entire village. It goes badly, like most investments go. But, you know, sometimes you have children, so you know you wouldn't get put into an elderly care facility when you get 70. But, you know, children take a lot of money and you have to love them for them to actually care about you when you get 70. Then we have one of my favorite types of adults. They are those adults who really try, but you cringe when you see them. For example, one of the favorite grandpas of all time from Inuyasha. If you have watched Inuyasha, then Kagome is a very sick child according to the grandpa. Like anything that she can have, even prostate cancer, she's gonna get, because that grandpa is just reading through all the medical magazines to figure out, what's fresh, what's the newest trend of being sick. I mean, they're trying and I love them. Then we have parents who are trying and I think winning, because, I mean, look at the little Anya, so happy. And the fact that you're winning doesn't mean that you even know what you're doing, which is also a part of parenting. And lastly, the reason why the kids are on the bad things happen sheets: abusive parents. Next, I'm going to give some case study examples. In other words, I'm going to advertise some series I like. Starting off with Welcome to Demon School, Irumakun. If you remember, it has neglectful parents who are like, a child, we're gonna use you to earn money, we're gonna sell you off, and you are gonna need years of therapy, even if you don't know, because we have brainwashed you. But luckily, after being sold off to a demon, Irumakun is gonna find a nice, good, groovy time. There's gonna be violence, but he's gonna have a lot of supportive like adult figures, even if the adult figures are not are more on the failing category than the winning category, but they're trying and they're goofy. So whether it be parents, your friends' parents, because sometimes your friends' parents are just like magnificent. You when Mother's Day appears, you're gonna give your friend's mom a card, not your own. And it has some good teachers. Then I can't not mention Precure because someone got me into it. I don't blame you. The season before the current one was pretty nice because it had a lot of adults, a lot of different types of the adults. It had two birds who were like, oh, I have a dream. And the child was like, oh, I also have a dream now, which is my parents' dream. And then the parents are like, why do you have this dream? No. And the child is like, it's my dream now. Get your own. We have the silly royal parents, who are the reason the series starts, because, they are silly, so they let their kids get kidnapped, because that's a part of being royal. We have a mysterious grandma, which seems to be a staple in Precure series, because you can't not have a grandma who's like, I have a secret past. And you're like thinking like, I wonder if you are part of the Precure agency or you were a stripper in your youth. I don't know. The same vibe still there. Then we had, for the first time, an adult cure, which means 18. Like just freshly 18. But still an adult because she can go to university, and she decided that I'm gonna learn how to be a good adult because she had some bad experiences from childhood. Not like Gonzo studio level bad experiences, but still something she would need therapy for. But still, this is a Precure series, so the adults were like, haha, kids, they're battling, but they are not my kids, so let them battle. Yes, and they could sell merchandise to the kindergarten kids, so they were like, the middle school kids, they are still battling. And then, my favorite series, Kemono Jihen. In other words, How to Exploit Children, the series. All of the kids have tragic and highly traumatic backgrounds. The moment adults see the kids, they're like, I hate this kid, what can I do with it? Yes, I have some toilets you can clean. You don't need to go to school, but I think I have my grandpa's old clothes somewhere. Also, there are some fields you need to tend to. Also, don't come near us because you stink. That's the first episode summed up. And some of the kids are just born there to be tools. Some of the kids are just highly brainwashed by police officers. So, all the works, they are there. But it has some very nice little characters, like the middle characters there from the top, the blonde girl, and Kabane. They are both, I would say, autistic kids, but they're trying their best and they're more responsible than most of the adults. And this is a good series for the found family and helping each other heal trope. Because when your own adoptive parents are just using you as free labor, like I did with my little sibling, you gotta just run away, find new kids who have been traumatized, lost their parents, and make a new family and work. Because apparently 13, 14-year-olds can work for a detective agency if there's a sketchy enough tanuki leading it. Now to the Japan's deadliest game of musical chairs. Konso Bokurano. I don't know whether the extraterrestrial threat was more worse or the everyday cruelty they experienced, because every episode was like a page from the Child Protection Services files, like those that are marked with "do not read" in big red letters, because, oh god, and I'm happy that I haven't read the manga, because apparently the manga is even worse. So, all these kids, they seem like happy little kids going to a school summer camp, and then some adults are like, fun games. And children are like, oh yes, fun games, we don't have to study. And then they end up in a contract where they have to save the world. And the adults can't do anything because they are adults and they are not the main characters of the series. And with each chair a kid sits on, we find out something horrible about their everyday life. There's a lot of violence, sexual abuse. There's parental problems, or the lack of parental problems in some cases, because some parents let their children grow up very nasty. That's the polite word. But there is a lot of different parent types in the series, luckily. You can see some parents who are like, I regret being an asshole and I'm gonna try not to be an asshole. There are some characters who are like, I'm an asshole, you're gonna learn how to be an asshole, because that's the way we get successful in this life. There are some who don't regret anything, some who regret everything, but luckily no one had this kind of hair, so the parents survive. Nonni. Buddy Daddies. I had to mention it because it's a nice series, because this little kid sees the world as a very kind place. Even when she suddenly gets two dads, she's like, I guess I have two dads, because why not? She's still young enough not to have had to talk about the bees and the flowers and birds, or what do the people talk about. So when she decides to go on a trip on her own because her mother doesn't give a flit about her, she finds two new dads who initially don't want to do anything about being a parent, but sometimes you have a night filled with action and you don't remember half of it, and then suddenly you have a kid. The same thing happens here, but with less intimate action, but more like deadly action. It also shows that not everyone is cut out to be a good parent, but sometimes they try. It is very hard to be a parent because, when you have a kindergarten-aged kid, there's a lot of things you need. Also, I found out that Japan requires you to put labels into everything a child has. And I'm glad I'm not in Japan, because my poor fingers, sewing cosplay is already hard. Non Biori, something nice as well, because this is one of the few series who got, I think, a score of 0 for almost everyone. Or everyone? Anyway, this is a series where the kids get to be kids. They don't have to suffer anything. They don't have to fight for anything. They don't have to suffer like big mental abuse. They are just having a grand, good time in a nice rural area. And the good thing about rural areas is the fact that you can't be picky about your friends, because when your neighbor 5 kilometers away is 2 years older than you, then that's better than no friends at all. So you get a friend group which consists of elementary grade kids to end of middle school, and they're all friends. The series has a lot of childhood nostalgia, and it's just a very a palate cleanser. You watch Bokurano and then you're like, okay, it's 10 in the evening, I need to go to work tomorrow. Try the years. Put Non Biori on and you're just having a good time. and you're going to sleep with a smile on your face. Because believe me, some of the series make you just think about all the trauma you have suffered, and you're just like, I don't have money for therapy. So, non-Ambiori, a good alternative to therapy. Conclusions. Oh, it's turning orange. I've done a good job. So basically, we have very few toddler main characters because toddlers can't do much because they are babies. They don't have much grip strength. They don't have advanced vocabularies. They have very little experience of the world. So all the statistics I did were very biased or like skewed because no babies. Middle school is a difficult time, and I'm glad that my little sibling graduated, 7th grade. They have survived. I mean, they are the second place bad age now, but better than 13. So, middle school, a lot of fighting. I still congratulate you all for passing middle school. Quality of parents may vary, as we can all attest, because some of us have like great parents, and others, I think a few in the audience are like, that's like my mom or my dad, so quality might vary. And in the end, I want to say that take care of your underage siblings, kids, friends, because it's hard being a kid. And we might even remember from our own childhood that no one understands us. Life is hard. So be the adult you wish you had as a kid, because it's difficult. Thank you for listening.